Hello, welcome. My name is Jerrel. I'm just a normal human being. I'm not a YouTuber, definitely not. And this will be my game development analysis of some recent video of Dragon Ball Sparking Zero. I had to stop myself from saying Sparkling Coke Zero for some reason that stuck in my head. So I'm just a normal, boring human being. I make video games for a living. I make commercial games and I also make free homebrew games. So taking a look at video that comes from Skills. I'll put the link to this guy, or I don't know who it is, this person's YouTube channel, so you can see the source video. I think they said it comes from Evo. So I think yesterday or 2 days ago, Bandai Namco uploaded a video that was their newest trailer for Dragon Ball Sparking Zero, and it was about the Namek saga, and apparently it was of game footage that was pretty old. And so I based my game development analysis on that. I did an analysis on that video, and my reaction to that was largely negative because it was a very poor showing. The product they showed was not very good, and I was under the assumption that that product they were showing was near completion as the game launches soon. And they are showing a product in the trailer that is significantly worse than the product that we're seeing here. So what we're seeing, again, I think someone used their phone to record this. This is significantly better than what Bandai Namco showed in their latest trailer. I think it's a bad idea for Bandai Namco to show footage like that. That is so bad. But this looks fantastic. I want to go over some details that I really like, that really interest me, that intrigue me, and I want to discuss a few things as a game developer. So I will not be approaching this as a fan of the series. I will not be approaching this as a player or a gamer. And in my last video, I got a hugely negative reaction. People got really mad at me. And I knew that there was going to be a negative reaction because I had only negative things to say, and I didn't want to say those negative things. But the reason why I make these videos is that it helps you guys, the gamers, it helps you understand the development process. It helps you understand competence from incompetence when it comes to game creation and game development. But it also helps developers who are early out in their career, helps them learn. It's like a step up, you know, it's like see what goes wrong here, and you can learn from other people's mistakes. And for developers that are still updating their product, it can help them update and improve the product. So despite the fact that people got very angry and then started attacking me, I would have been disappointed if people did not react negatively and if people didn't lash out against me to defend Dragon Ball, because I know it seemed like I was attacking this franchise that people love, but I'm just as big a Dragon Ball fan as anyone else, and I was not attacking or setting out to spread negativity. So I've taken down that first video because it's just spreading negativity, and that was not my intention. So with this video, I want to point out some things that I think are just really, really awesome that I really like. I'm not sure why the video's so compressed. Let's see. So the first thing that caught my attention is the way that the characters appear when you select them. This is a great flourish. I really like that. The character dropping it from the top and then jumping out. Really neat, cool detail there that's just creative. And it's just an interesting way to have those characters come in a way that makes sense. At 34, I really like how Frieza gracefully floats in. You know, there's a lot of character to the animation here. And he's sort of, you know, whereas we have Vegeta comes in and he just slams down. So there's a very good amount of characterization and expression there, even in just the character select screen. And that to me shows attention to detail and the developers that understand these characters and they care about expressing that and having everything make sense. The transition from the character select screen to the actual battle is really fantastic. I'm just going to rewind. I really liked this. You have the characters here, you're selecting them, and then when the battle starts, it's semi-seamless, where it goes into this sort of cloud swoosh, and it hides the fact that they've switched over to the battle stage. So it feels seamless. I really like that. Really well done. I'm actually quite interested to know how the development team has changed, because what I'm seeing in this latest footage that apparently is the most recent, most modern stuff, what I see here is not the same direction as the earlier product that Bandai Namco was showing. This does not even look like the same game to me compared to the game that I did a development analysis on a couple days ago, whether it was yesterday or 2 days ago, this does not look like the same game. This looks like a totally different game, and I'm so glad to see that because I'm really looking forward to this game. So at 1:30, what I really like here, I'll go back a little bit, is what they've done. They've done such a great job expressing speed, and that is when characters go invisible and they sort of flicker in and out of sight, is a smear a little bit like that, and especially there too. It's such a great way to express speed, and I'll point out a number of things that they do here to indicate that sense of speed, which is what Dragon Ball, that's the appeal of Dragon Ball, is these high speed battles, you know, and you have to be able to express that in a way that is both interesting but also clear to the viewer. And the way that they've done it is great. It's great here. It wasn't necessarily great on the older footage that they showed, but if this is the end product, I think people should be very happy because this shows that there is a degree of mastery that's gone into all of these effects here. And I'd like to point out the aspects that I really like and a couple of things that I'm not even sure how they did it. So I'm glad to see that. Something that's quite good is that the camera goes through objects, and those objects use screen door transparency. They don't use fade transparency because that's more expensive on the processing power for the graphics, whereas going into a screen door, that's cheaper in terms of performance, but the camera does not collide with those. So it's saving processing power not having to check for collisions for the camera on those. And also the camera doesn't need to move itself, which means the camera won't freak out as it gets near objects. It can go through them, and that's good because it means it maintains the perspective that is needed for these battles, which are swooping and going all over the place. So that's a very good decision there in terms of the direction for the battle system there. At 334, I really like seeing this dynamic battle damage. There we go. I need to wait for a second there before I pause it. You see it there, you know, just small details like that that show that the developers are paying close attention, and it looks really good. And of course, they're trying to remind you of the anime. That's really what they want to do is, you know, any franchise game is, hey, remember this really cool thing that you like? This is one of the things that really impressed me. It's probably the thing that I like the most out of this footage here. I'll let it play in full speed first. Wait, hold on. It might be a little bit later at 356. At 356, here we go. Get up, Gohan. That punch right there, that whole sequence, just impresses me. And as a gamer, I love to see this stuff. It really sells that sense of power, which is what these games need. So both as a gamer and as a developer, I really like what I'm seeing here. So what we're seeing is the animation is playing at full speed. We get momentary slowdown at just the right impact frames, and I really appreciate and adore this as the screen goes black and we get these what looks like hand-drawn impact lines. Really excellent touches, just fantastic. That's the kind of thing, those kind of flourishes are what show that developers really understand what they're doing from a visual and an artistic standpoint. These impact effects are, to me, they look like they're inspired by the manga style and the manga art, and it's well done, it's tastefully done, it's not over the top, whereas in the earlier footage of this game from earlier in development, especially what Bandai posted a couple days ago, it didn't have this level of mastery when it comes to visual expression. It was a mess. The particle effects on that older footage was just a mess, and it obscured everything. This shows significant consideration to visual clarity and making it clear what is going on in terms of the action, and it's not there to obscure. In the older footage that we saw of this, the particle effects hugely obscured the action and what was going on. The visual information was hard to parse. The big particles are only there for a short time, and they really sell that sense of power. Excellent job here, very well done, and it is a huge improvement over what we saw in the earlier versions of this development of this game. Yet, as a gamer, I want to fish for those moves that get that cool blackout screen with the impact frames. I better move ahead a little bit because I'm just going to probably keep talking about how much I like that effect. So the particle effects overall, they look more bespoke. They look like they're hand-drawn. They're frame-by-frame animated. Before, in the older footage, it did not have that appeal. A lot of the effects from the older footage look like they were taken out of an asset pack, that they were just generic. But this looks really fantastic. The flames coming off Vegeta. I'll go into that aura a little bit more later on in the video, but it does a great job of expressing a sense of increasing power, because you have that first aura, then you have the second one where it's brighter. If we go back to that first aura he was using a second ago, well, let's see if we can get to that. Oops. See, it's more, it's darker towards the center, lighter towards the edges. When he does this, the whole thing is bright towards the middle. This shows very good attention to detail and expressing levels of power again, which is something that did not seem to exist in the earlier versions of this game in development, when it was really a visual mess. But this is fantastic. This is so well done. It's well directed. It's well implemented. At 4:08, I really like that these traffic posts are destructible. You see two of them break off as Vegeta slams Gohan through those. Really neat. I just like small details like that. They do have some physics simulation as they bounce on the ground. It's stuff like that, as a gamer, I just want to go over and try and break that stuff, you know. Let's see. 4:49. I really admire this smooth animation for Gohan. You see as he smoothly falls down, you see very close attention to detail as his hands sort of drag very lightly behind him. Very well done. Such a small detail. Those were the kinds of master level animation, I would say, that these are master level animation, is they're significantly better than what we saw. These are the kind of animations that I did not see from the trailer that Bandai posted a couple days ago. This is a totally different game, and I'm so happy. As a Dragon Ball fan, I'm so happy to see that the game, it looks this great, because this is significantly better than what Bandai was showing, so I'm glad to see this. Something I really like is this subtle effect they use for air resistance as Vegeta is knocked into the air. We'll see here in a second. You can see just there as he's pushed, and that conveys a sense of air resistance as he's being pushed through the air. Every once in a while you get that sort of like, it's not a sonic boom, but it sort of, you know, kind of looks like one, but the air that he drags behind him, really well done. So I'm impressed with that. I really like that effect. It's understated, but it conveys exactly what it needs to, and it makes an attack feel powerful when it hits. So I'm probably just going to just nerd out a little bit from a technical standpoint, because of how great the aura looks here. So as a game developer, it's very hard for me to describe to you how difficult it is to do something like this. You have this darker color in the middle, you have these bright outlines that looks like something hand-drawn in an anime. And it's not just a fixed effect, as we'll see, it's actually dynamic, and it's extremely hard to do. And myself personally, I've done a lot of particle effect work. I personally wouldn't know where to start when doing that. It would probably take me a couple days to really get something like that, and just keep tinkering it with it to get it right. But what's so interesting about it is that it's not a fixed, static effect. It is actually following his body, which is something that earlier development footage didn't show. You can see he's dragging the aura behind him, and then other than that, he has this darker trail that's leaving behind as well. This is such a great effect, and it's hard to explain how impressive this is, but it looks so great. And implementing something like that, what's so impressive about it is that to match the anime, the white lines are just along the edges, and you don't see them on the other side of Vegeta. This is something that in a 3D game environment, you would have to specify that it, you know, surrounds the character, and in most cases you would see it on the other side of the character as well. So the fact that it's only on the outlines is so technically impressive, and it's kind of frustrating me a little bit that I'm not able to clearly explain how impressive that is. And I'm a little bit jelly that I've been trying to do effects that are similar like that, you know, not trying to do the same thing, but that is something that's really impressive. This here is something that really impresses me as well. Again, I really appreciate the direction of the camera angles. So the camera angles are so dynamic. They don't cut, and as Vegeta prepares his attack, we'll see the camera swoops around seamlessly, and we'll wait for that to start here. The camera seamlessly swoops up to him. And this, at a glance, you would likely think this is a hand-drawn cell from the anime, and it shows such very careful attention to detail. Again, this was missing from earlier in development, the earlier footage, which leads me to believe that they've likely added members to the development team who have a stronger understanding and can guide on this stuff. It's really, really great to see things like this. And it's not just, oh, it kind of looks like the anime. The reason why it looks so good is there's so much attention to detail, to fine-tuning the lighting. They have dramatic lighting that is interesting. You have a basic highlight here, obviously, on the left, and then you have the shadows here. And it's so easy in a 3D space to just put lights in there, and it was all washed out. If you watch older trailer videos, especially the trailer that Bandai Namco posted 2 days ago, it's so flat. When it had angles like this, there was dull lighting. It was so flat. This is so interesting, and what's so impressive about it is the style of the shadows they have here. It looks hand-drawn, even though it's not. The fact that it rounds out and is smooth there would have taken a significant amount of programming work on the shader, which is a portion of the program that tells the game how to render graphics, and every character, every object has a shader, which is basically a set of instructions on how to visually depict it. The fact that it smoothens out over the edges to help it look like the hand-drawn art, this is so impressive. This is excellent. I'm so glad to see this. We didn't see this level of mastery or even competence. We didn't see this level of competence earlier in different videos. And when I pointed them out, people got really mad at me. And that's fine. You know, I'm glad to see Dragon Ball fans fighting for something that they care about and fighting for something that they believe in. Something I really like here is Vegeta's eyes. You see them change size as he's sort of powering up, and they sort of dilate, or I don't know if it's supposed to be dilating, but you see that, and it just gives a sense of drama and power and intensity. And that is such fine attention to detail that this is why I'm convinced the product that we're seeing now has a different makeup of the team. There's different director, there are different artists with significantly more experience working on this. And I'm so glad to see that. Let's see here. At 5:48. Oh, I really liked seeing Gohan get hit by that blast. You see that, the effect pushing through his body like that. You have these streaks that look like pencil streaks. This is just brilliant. And then it transitions to those broken lines. They do that a couple times, and I'm going to point it out. Obviously, that's reminiscent of the anime, and it's brilliant. You know, the anime and the manga. And it's so well executed. What is so impressive about that is it's so convincing. It is absolutely seamless, and I don't know how they would have implemented that. I really like when I see something in a game where I don't, just off the top of my head, I can't think of how they implemented that. So I would like to just sit down for an hour or two one day and then try and recreate that, because it's such a cool effect, and I really appreciate and respect that effect that they've done there. I don't know how long this video is going. I'll try and speed things up. Like I said, I'm sort of nerding out a little bit here because I'm seeing things that are so great on a technical level. And the reason why I'm so happy to see it is because the footage that I saw yesterday was so bad. It just was not what I wanted to see as a fan of Dragon Ball. So this is really great. I'll pause here. And this is just so impressive to me. This scene here, everything here looks hand-drawn. This is so convincing in terms of being 2D hand-drawn art. And a lot of that has to do with the color choices that they've gone with, and the dynamic between the lighting and the intensity of the shadows. This is something that I did not see in the earlier gameplay footage and the Namek Saga trailer that Bandai Namco posted. I did not see this level of mastery. This is excellent. This is so fantastic. I'm so glad to see this. You can see the folds are well detailed in the clothing. And what's so interesting about this is the light source, you know, it's supposedly, you know, okay, the lighting is for the characters coming from here, but the terrain light is coming from there. That doesn't matter in this situation. What I really like is that for the characters, their lighting is coming from over here, but you see the shadows in the folds of the clothing kind of fight against that, because that there shouldn't be a shadow there, but that's kind of how it would look in the anime, and it really sells it as being hand drawn. So this is a situation where the decisions made by the artists really make the product really fantastic. Just the end result really wonderful. You can see the folds in Gohan's clothing there, and just the dynamic of the shadows. The color values they've chosen are extremely similar to what you would see in the anime, especially with Frieza. That's quite convincing, the range of the shadows there. So this is, I'm so glad to see this. It's just so fantastic. So I'll probably move on. I'm dragging things on a little bit here. Time to see my next point here. I was almost gonna talk about my favorite character, Boo, but again, I'm not approaching this video as a fan. I'm not approaching it as a gamer, so I'm not going to talk about how Boo is the best. I won't be talking about that at all. Oh, this is a small error, and again, this is not a criticism, but I wanted to point it out as a sort of commiserating with the animators here. Everything that I see here is fluid, it's expressive, it's very well animated. I don't see the rigging errors that I saw from Bandai's latest trailer, and I'm glad to see that those errors are gone. Everything here looks fantastic. At 709, I think the video that's here is too compressed, but you can see, if I can get it to play a little slower, you'll see Frieza's tail at 709. It whips around, so just after this you'll see it sort of freak out there, just there. And I'll play it again. You'll see Frieza's tail, so it's in the middle of an animation, and then it's trying to return to another animation. Just there you see it freak out. It's so hard to do tails. So again, this is not a criticism. I just want to share a little bit of information as a developer. It's so hard to do tails. It's difficult to do tentacles, especially if you're keyframe animating. You have to do absolutely everything by hand. There's all forms of newer technology that you can use to help with that, but it's hard, it's difficult, it's time consuming. And in some of my latest games, my monster designs, I sometimes don't think about how difficult it's going to be to rig and animate all the tentacles and tails. So a lot of my recent designs have had a bunch of tentacles on them, thinking, yeah, this will look cool, yeah. And then later on, future me was really, really irritated that I'd have to rig and then keyframe, animate all of those. So I can totally commiserate with the animators here. And that it's only visible for a split second, but I caught it, and I felt like a sense of kinsmanship. Like, oh, I feel you guys. Tails are really frustrating. So at 7:30, we see the camera go through the terrain, similar during the fight with in the city. And again, it's a very good decision to do this, that it doesn't try to change its position, because that would negatively influence the player's ability to see what's going on. So it's good that it goes through the terrain. The terrain does do the screen door transparency. So this is a good solution, because you need to maintain the viewing perspective for the player to understand what's going on in the fight. So that's a very good decision there. Overall, I see so much more attention to detail and significantly better direction when it comes to the camera in what we're seeing here. The trail effects are better. Something that's so great here is the facial expression posing. It's so great. It's expressive. You see the hand-drawn wrinkles in the skin. It's very well done. You see the bruising, which is very faithful to the anime. Not that that's important, but the fact that they've style matched that so well it's great to see that. At 8:20, I'm probably dragging things on a little bit, because there's a lot that I really like here, so I'm probably just nerding out a little too much here. Okay. I have, at 8:20, there's a great use of smearing the particles to convey a sense of movement. As you see Frieza moving at high speed, we'll see it a little bit more in a second here. There's a lot of particles in the atmosphere, particles like, like sparkles and things like that. Maybe I wrote down the wrong time for Frieza here. Oh, here we go. So I'll pause it, and you can see these particles, and they may be he's generating them off his aura, but you see them smearing. But what's so great is as he changes direction, you'll see the smearing move along in that direction. And as I mentioned before in the video, they do such an excellent job conveying a sense of speed and movement, which is so important. That's one of the most important parts of Dragon Ball. This is not a negative criticism or nitpick. This is just something that about game development is you'll see as the camera rotates, you'll see that the particles actually rotate themselves to stay aligned with the camera. That's just a rendering technique. You'll see there as the camera moves, you see they rotate it a little bit so they stay aligned with the camera. That's normal, you know. There's a couple different ways to render render particles. That's just one thing I noticed that caught me off guard. I wasn't expecting it a little bit. But that to me tells me that they are billboard particles, so they're not 3D models in terms of particle effects, in terms of animation. They are billboards, and they are programmed to specifically stay rotated to point towards the camera, which allows them to have frame-by-frame animation, which is why they look so good. You see the clouds in this all have frame-by-frame animation, really well done. At 8:35, we see that the clouds and other similar effects, they smoothly transition into the terrain where they intersect with the terrain and other geometry. You see they kind of smoothly blend in there. Kind of looks like a little bit of clipping there, but I could be wrong there. So, and also as they intersect with each other, they smoothly blend, which is good to see that, because we weren't seeing that previously in earlier trailers. At 9:15, again, it's great. The camera direction is great. There's so much better attention to detail when it comes to the muscle shapes and the shadows and the expressing the forms. I pointed out in my last video that it was not competently done. There was no attention to detail. Here there is. There's significant improvements to that. This is really fantastic. It shows that they're paying way more attention and they're fine-tuning things so that they look right, so they make sense. The framing on that is really great, and we do see a bit of physics simulation on his shirt, and it's not over the top, it's just enough. You can see his shirt billowing with his aura as he powers up. You see the edges. It does not take long to do that. That's very, very fast to rig something like that up. It was missing from earlier in development, and that is such a small thing that makes a huge difference in terms of the visual communication and expression, especially since the character's hair is billowing with the aura and with the wind. It makes the end product so much more coherent when even having small details like that. So at 9:50, we have the dynamic aura. Again, I'm probably a little bit jelly as a developer. The fact that they've got this great effect, it's so difficult. It's again, it's really difficult to do that sort of dynamic aura where it's just white streaks at the edges and it's sort of darker in the middle. It looks so great, and the fact that the character, it trails the character, you can see that long trail following behind him. So I really admire that effect. So fantastic. At 10 and 11 seconds, there's something really cool here. I really like this blackout effect with that white impact star just there, kind of showing that that's where the source of power is originating. Really well done. Excellent visual storytelling. This is a master level of visual expression, visual art that is worthy of the Dragon Ball franchise. This is 10:9. Again, there's great attention to detail when it comes to the facial expressions, and again, the lighting, the visual expression on the muscles, everything looks right. Everything that this is saying visually makes sense. The hands are a little messed up, but this is real-time visual lighting, and it's extremely difficult to handle all of these elements. The fact that all of this here just looks fantastic that's more than good enough. This is really well done. They've paid a lot of attention to that. It's so great when it flickers black and white for just a second. Let's see. The transition to broken line art at 10:14. We'll see it here in a couple seconds. There's baby Goku, who comes from the future. And there's this, the transition to the line art. That's so fantastic. Obviously, I'm messing with you about the baby Goku thing. Obviously, I know that's Goten. The way that the game transitioned to those black and white line art, it's so convincing and it's really impressive. So from a technical standpoint, I applaud the developers and the artists there. Well done, well done. 11:16. This is one minor flaw that I noticed in the Bandai trailer from yesterday. It still annoys me. It's not a big deal. It doesn't really matter. Obviously, it doesn't. It's just a video game. It doesn't matter at all. But Broly gets hit, and then it damages the terrain, despite the fact that he didn't go anywhere near it. Which is, I'm not sure if I wrote down the wrong timestamp here. We'll see. Maybe it's a little bit earlier than 11:16. Let's see here. Must have written down the wrong timestamp. Oh no, just there. Nope, nope. Okay, well there's another shot where the terrain sort of breaks, but he's nowhere near it. But it doesn't really matter. I'm really hoping that they'll address things like that, because just visually it's really distracting to me. But again, it doesn't make a difference, you know. It doesn't impact the gameplay, but it just feels a little sloppy to me. Again, it doesn't matter. Anyway, towards the end of this, you see the camera sort of sink below the stage, I think, a little bit, which is going to happen. You can see it sunk below the stage. And the reason that happened is because there's multiple systems that control these cameras, and it's so difficult to manage all of that. If you ever played Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, you'd be familiar with the camera sinking below the stage all the time. For a high-speed game like this, you kind of expect that that's going to happen, because there are multiple systems that are each taking turns controlling the camera, and sometimes when they do the handoff, when they hand off the camera control logic, things like that can happen where you can kind of see underneath the stage. So not a big deal. That happens all the time in gaming, but I wanted to explain a little bit why that sort of happens. So thanks for watching. I hope that was fun. I hope you enjoyed that. Again, just a big thanks to everyone who watched my first video, and especially to everyone that got mad at me and then said, you know, fought back and told me that I sucked. Thank you. I'm so glad to see other people fighting for Dragon Ball, because I'm just as much of a fan as you guys. I absolutely love Dragon Ball. So to see people, you know, fighting back and saying, you suck, shut up, I'm so glad to see that. I've never engaged with the Dragon Ball fan base anywhere online or anything. I only, you know, talked about Dragon Ball with my friends while growing up. So it's so great to hear from you guys. And again, keep fighting, keep, you know, defend the thing that you care about. You care about Dragon Ball. Fight for it. Defend it. If someone says crappy things about it on the internet, absolutely, you know, let them know what you think. But I'm not a YouTuber. I'm not trying to get a reaction or rage bait, whatever that means. People said I was rage baiting, and I don't really know what that means, because, yeah, I'm not a YouTuber, just a normal guy. Anyway, thanks for watching. Take care of yourselves, everyone. See ya.